What if I told you the reason you're waking up 3, 4, even 5 times a night to pee may not be because you're drinking too much water? In fact, for many people over 50, the real problem is how they're drinking it. And here's the shocking part most doctors never explain. The healthy hydration habits you've followed your whole life could actually be training your bladder to wake you up all night long. If you're exhausted every morning, if your sleep feels broken, if you're constantly watching the clock at 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., dragging yourself to the bathroom again and again, your body may be sending you a warning sign that something is off with your hydration timing, bladder signaling, and even your hormones. I'm Dr. David Ad, a practicing urologist with over 25 years of experience helping adults, especially men and women between 50 and 75, finally regain deep, uninterrupted sleep without relying on sleeping pills or dangerous quick fixes. And I can tell you this, most of my patients came to me believing they had to just live with it. Many were told to simply stop drinking water at night. Or worse, they started dehydrating themselves completely. But those strategies often make the problem worse. One major clinical review found that when patients corrected just a few key hydration behaviors, nighttime bathroom trips dropped dramatically, sometimes by more than 50%, and the most effective changes were surprisingly simple. In today's video, I'm going to reveal the top 3 most powerful water drinking habits that can help you stop waking up at night to pee, ranked from number 3 to number 1. And trust me, number 1 is completely opposite of what you've probably been told your entire life. Number 3, stop saving up your water for the evening. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see in my patients over 50. Many people stay busy all day, barely drink any water in the morning or afternoon, then suddenly try to catch up after dinner. A few glasses while watching TV, another before bed because they think it's healthy. And without realizing it, they've overloaded their bladder right before sleep. Here's what happens inside your body. Your kidneys don't simply shut off at night. If you flood your system in the evening, your body has no choice but to process that fluid while you're sleeping. That creates pressure in the bladder, activates nerve signals, and pulls you out of deep sleep over and over again. And the older we get, the more sensitive the system becomes. In your 20s, your bladder may have handled it easily, but after 50, bladder capacity often shrinks, sleep becomes lighter, and the hormone that helps your body reduce nighttime urine production naturally declines. So instead of drinking less water overall, the key is to shift when you drink it. I tell my patients to think of hydration like charging a battery. You want to front-load most of your fluids earlier in the day, especially during the first 8 to 10 hours after waking up. A simple goal that helps many people is this. Drink about 70 to 80% of your daily fluids before 6 p.m. Then, after dinner, only sip water when you're genuinely thirsty, not out of habit. Now, this next strategy surprised even some of my patients who thought they were doing everything right. Because it involves a healthy drink millions of people consume every single evening without realizing what it's doing to their bladder. Number 2. Your evening healthy drink may secretly be acting like a bladder stimulant. I'm talking about things like herbal tea, sparkling water, lemon water, green tea, even those so-called sleepy time drinks people have right before bed, thinking they're helping themselves sleep better. And yes, even decaf can be a problem for some people. Here's why. Many of these drinks either irritate the bladder lining, increase urine production, or trigger bladder contractions while you sleep. Carbonation, artificial sweeteners, citrus acids, and even certain herbs can make the bladder more active, especially in adults over 50. That means your bladder may start signaling urgency long before it's actually full. I can tell you how many patients sat in my office saying, "But doctor, I only drink herbal tea at night." And yet, when we removed that one habit for just a couple of weeks, they suddenly went from waking up 5 times a night to once or sometimes not at all. One patient in his late 60s was convinced he had a severe bladder condition. But the biggest trigger turned out to be 2 large mugs of peppermint tea every evening after dinner. The solution wasn't complicated medication. It was changing the timing and type of fluid entering his body at night. Now here's the important part. This does not mean you should become dehydrated. In fact, dehydration can actually irritate the bladder even more and concentrate the urine, which may worsen urgency and nighttime waking. The goal is balance. Choose calmer fluids in the evening, smaller amounts, earlier timing, and avoid anything carbonated, heavily flavored, artificially sweetened, or caffeinated within several hours of bedtime. But now we come to the number one strategy. And honestly, this is the one that shocks people the most because it goes against decades of advice they've heard from friends, family, and sometimes even doctors. In fact, many people watching this are probably doing the exact opposite every single night without realizing they're training their body to wake up constantly. Number one, stop drinking large amounts of water right before bed, just in case. This habit is incredibly common. People tell themselves, I should drink one more big glass so I don't get dehydrated overnight. But for many adults, especially after 50, that final large drink becomes the very thing destroying their sleep. And here's the counterintuitive part. Your goal at night is not maximum hydration. It's stable hydration. There's a huge difference. When you suddenly pour a large amount of fluid into your system within an hour or two of bedtime, your kidneys respond quickly. Urine production rises precisely during the hours your brain is supposed to be entering deep, restorative sleep. And once your sleep cycle is interrupted, it becomes much easier to wake up again and again throughout the night. But there's another hidden problem most people never hear about. Every time you repeatedly wake up to urinate, your brain can begin forming a conditioned sleep pattern. In other words, your body starts expecting nighttime waking. Eventually, even a partially filled bladder can trigger you awake. That's why fixing this issue is not just about your bladder, it's about retraining your entire nighttime rhythm. Here's what I recommend to many of my patients. About 90 minutes before bed, stop large volume drinking completely. If your mouth feels dry later, take small sips, not full glasses. Then, right before getting into bed, empty your bladder one final time, even if you don't feel a strong urge yet. This simple routine helps reduce overnight bladder filling, while also calming the brain-bladder signaling loop that keeps waking you up. And for many people, the improvement is surprisingly fast. Some notice fewer bathroom trips within days. And before you go, there's one more thing I want you to remember. Waking up occasionally at night to urinate can be normal as we age. But if you're consistently getting up multiple times every single night, don't ignore it, especially if it's affecting your energy, memory, mood, or blood pressure. Poor sleep doesn't just make you tired. Over time, it can impact your immune system, heart health, metabolism, and even increase the risk of falls and injuries during nighttime bathroom trips. That's why small changes matter so much. Sometimes the difference between waking up 5 times a night and sleeping peacefully until morning isn't a powerful medication. It's understanding how your body actually handles fluids after 50. So tonight, start simple, shift more of your water earlier into the day, avoid bladder-irritating drinks in the evening, and stop forcing large glasses of water right before bed. Your bladder and your sleep may thank you for it. If this video helped you, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the next video, I'm going to reveal the hidden evening foods that silently irritate the bladder and make nighttime urination dramatically worse. Even some foods labeled as heart-healthy, and trust me, a few of them will surprise you. Also, if you've been struggling with nighttime urination for months or even years, I want you to know you are absolutely not alone. This is one of the most common complaints I hear in my clinic, especially from adults over 60 who thought poor sleep was simply part of aging. It's not something you should ignore, and it's not something you necessarily have to live with. In many cases, the body responds remarkably well when you make the right adjustments consistently. Now, of course, if you're experiencing symptoms like burning, blood in the urine, severe urgency, swelling in the legs, uncontrolled diabetes, or loud snoring with extreme fatigue, it's important to speak with your doctor because nighttime urination can sometimes be linked to underlying medical conditions that need proper evaluation. But for millions of people, the biggest breakthroughs come from fixing simple daily habits that nobody ever explained clearly. That's why I created this channel, to help you separate myths from real medical science and give you practical strategies you can actually use in everyday life. So before you leave, I'd love to hear from you. How many times are you waking up each night to use the bathroom? Let me know down in the comments. I read them carefully, and your experience may help someone else realize they're not alone either. And if you know someone constantly exhausted from getting up at night, maybe a spouse, parent, brother, or close friend, share this video with them, because sometimes one small change in the evening can completely change how you feel every morning.